And gentlemen, here we are. One thing I forgot to do was to send Marc Morehouse, who's going to be joining me momentarily, the link to this. But I can talk and send a link at the same time. Just sent. Marc, it's on the way. Ladies and gentlemen, holy smokes. I don't know how you feel right now, but I feel I feel a little tired. I feel a little worn out. That was something. Iowa 77, Wisconsin 33 in the season finale in Carver Hawkeye Arena. As Cody Hills from Twitter posted just a few minutes ago, there was no Wieskamp in the second half, but there were a lot of guts from the Iowa basketball team, and a lot of guts indeed. That was exhausting. It was a ref show. It was a little discombobulated, but in the end, it was the Hawkeyes notching their 20th victory of the season, a season that had 27 games, so 4 games shy of a normal regular season is what Iowa had this year. They still got to the 20-win mark. They're going to finish the Big Ten season. Well, they did finish the Big Ten season. It's not going to finish the Big Ten season. They finish the Big Ten season at 13-7 overall. That will tie for the third most wins in the league behind Michigan's 14 and Illinois' 16. Send a note here quick to Marc just to make sure he received it. Did you receive link? And yeah, just unbelievable. Wieskamp. Let's talk about that real quick. You know what? Let's save that. Let's go in and let's look at the stat sheet here real quick. Going to share the screen. And that comes up. There we go. Hopefully that you can all see that. Bohannon, what a gutty effort by Bohannon in the second half. He finishes with 16 points, 5 of 5 from threes. Jordan has a ton of old man game in his bag. Drawing those 3 free throws, it wasn't a great call, but he drew it. That's a veteran move. That's a senior savvy move. Jordan Bohannon, my gosh, you will be missed. Jordan Bohannon is one of my all-time favorite Iowa Hawkeyes. He is so much fun to watch. And Marc is in now. I'm going to go ahead and bring Marc up while we're looking at the sheets. There's Marc Morehouse in the house with a wonderful looking hat. Marc, I love that. It's fantastic.
Thanks, man. This is my kind of fishing hat, maybe, sort of. It's hard to put on with the
headset.
Earphones. With the headset, yeah. But yeah. It works. It works.
You might be able to do one of these babies. Roll this thing back like that a little bit. Or you could go Don Imus on us with the headsets upside down. But you do what's comfortable for you.
I like this.
I like the vibe you got. I like it.
This is my Lake Superior hoodie, so I'm all good. What a game, man. One thing, I really liked how the Hawkeyes gutted it out. This was like losing Stanzi to the ankle injury, but still beating Northwestern. And great minutes for Joe T. Great minutes for Keegan. Continues to grow. CJF, who's now taken the he owns CJF now. CJ Fedorowicz.
Yes.
He never happened. I'm just kidding. He was a huge dude. He was a really nice guy too. But super huge minutes for those guys. And you know what? It all worked. They won in the end. Strange officiating, and I'm sure you've talked about that.
A little bit.
It's such a, in my mind, it's a detriment to watching the game. I mean, you just keep waiting for them. Oh God, there they are. Call it. It's almost like you crave the Y rules where people just called their own, called the obvious, but no, man, they made this game about 3 hours longer than it needed to.
Yeah, it was really, really long. Great guard there at the end on a play that ultimately benefited Iowa with the refs looking at it. Basically going after Bo Borowski saying, quit giving into it every effing time you're giving into it. And what he was saying was giving into the Iowa benches and I think fans, the parents' reaction saying, you got to go to the replay monitor. That was an elbow. That was something else. And, then they go to the monitor on one that, it's befuddling to me how you can have a double foul when one of those fouls is a flagrant hook and hold on Davison. Yet it was called a foul on Keegan Murray, who didn't foul because it was a hook and hold on Davison. Someone tweeted at me that they can't overturn the foul that was called, which is stupid if you've got instant replay. Anyway, you're right. What a crazy game. I'm going to pull up the stats here that we can dive into those, and we'll then give
real quickly.
Yeah, sure.
I would just announce that they are going to retire Luka Garza's number 55.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's doing this right. It's not Barta saying maybe kinda with Megan Guffinson. It's getting it done, and And I guess he's doing a tearful. You guys will be. You'll watch the highlights on every news channel tonight. This is going to be good stuff.
Wow. Yeah, I'll look forward to watching the replay of all that. You're right. That's a smart move by Barta, which I would say, and everything I say is my words, everything Marc says his words. I would say that Barta's been a little on the short end of the stick on good moves the last several years. So that's a very good move by Gary Barta.
This one won't end up in court. Sorry.
Oh, that is so right on the money.
It was decided on court, but
there you go.
Seriously, great move, and the only, like Mike Halas tweeted, the only decision you could make.
Yeah, that was. He gets the layup. Back to the stat sheet here. 16 points by Bohannon. Marc, I was talking about how savvy old man game that he has, drawing those 3 fouls, which I don't think was a foul call, but he made it look like a foul call. Hit all of his free throws, 6 boards, 8 assists for Bohannon in this game. His last time ever stepping on the court as a Hawkeye in Carver Hawkeye Arena with a memorable finish. Luka Garza, 21 and 16. The monster of monsters, plays 37 minutes. You mentioned Keegan Murray. I hadn't got to him or anybody else yet. 27 minutes, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks, and a whole myriad of plays that won't show up on the stat sheet, which makes him the superstar in waiting that I think he is.
I keep looking for a vibe or a player to kind of assign his skill set to, and I think, you know what? Let's just leave it. Let's leave it open. We don't have to. Let's just leave it open. I'm thinking kind of sometimes I think I see maybe Scottie Pippen. I think sometimes I kind of think I see George Gervin. I'm old. But he keeps adding layers. I mean, the offensive rebound he got after the free throw, that's not a George Gervin move. I don't know what that is. That's good, quick feet and really heady play. Let me tell you, I coached both the Murray brothers in 5th grade flag football. I'm from the Prairie District. They were the nicest kids. I kept waiting for them to start kicking ass. They never did. They were just really nice kids, and they were a pleasure to coach. And now I think the Eye of the Tiger fell somewhere in there, and they are. Keegan, I don't know what. He's a superlative machine every time coming out now. With Joe W being hurt, really love the way Joe T filled in, but really Keegan he's becoming a pillar.
Yeah, he really is. Joe Toussaint with 6 points, 12 minutes, 2 assists. But again, he did so much more than that. He ran the show. He drew fouls. He helped get Iowa to the bonus, which is not a stat that they keep, but Wisconsin couldn't keep up with him. That's 3 very good games in a row for Joe Toussaint, who is a bit of a harbinger, I think, for this team. As he goes in his stints, so Iowa goes as well. And you mentioned something earlier. Wieskamp, 12 points, 5 of 5. I mean, he was Mr. Mid-Range. He played 7 minutes to get those 12 points before he got hurt. And you brought up the the Stanzi in 2000 and was it 9? I guess, yeah.
2009.
2009 against Wisconsin, where he hurt his ankle in the end zone. They still held on to beat the way they lost to Northwestern. Or no, did they beat Northwestern? They lost to Northwestern.
They lost to Northwestern, yeah. But they had Brandon Wagger. Wagger had a long touchdown run. Poor Raphael Eubanks was called probably for the only holding call of his career, which was total BS
Right.
and
Yeah.
Northwestern scum. John totally scummed one out in Kinnick, and to me that game didn't matter. But today, kind of like today's game, Iowa had its double bye. It was all all going to work out. And I'm getting a little bit distracted by some of the stuff popping up on our screen.
That's fine. I'm glad. Yeah.
But Joe W's injury Dave says in our thing, Spiro told Bobby Hansen that it's optimistic. I think it's good that he was out there in the court. You were right, John. 12 points, 12 minutes. This game probably would have been a 15-point win if Joe Dub goes all the way through.
Yeah, I think so. And what was the Stanzi injury was going through your mind? What was going through my mind is a little darker. What was going through my mind was 1989, Ray Thompson and Hunter Rawlings. Then Iowa president Hunter Rawlings deemed Ray Thompson ineligible just before the Big Ten tournament. He was eligible by Big Ten standards. He was eligible by Iowa standards, but Hunter Rawlings stepped in and, did what he did. And Iowa went on to play with, BJ, Roy, and Eddie. And they lost, I think, in the second round that year to NC State. Was it like 102, 106 or 102 to 96, something like that. And that's pained me ever since. And so my thought was, oh no, Iowa could go to the NCAA tournament without Joe Wieskamp. Let's hope that's not the case. You mentioned that there wasn't a much on the line, but I kind of think that there was. So Iowa clinches the 3 seed now in the Big Ten tournament. Had they lost this game, they would have been the 4, meaning their first game would have been against Ohio State. Who would you rather play, Ohio State or Wisconsin, with or without Joe Wieskamp? I got my vote. It's the Badgers.
Yeah, it's the Badgers. And we talked about it.
Thursday
last podcast. Triple over the Badgers. Now let's put the onus on getting the triple. I think the way Iowa won today, I think it's possible. And you're right. There was some. I mean, you don't want to get an Illinois that's fresh and looking like it's out there to prove something. And Io's face mask does make him look like a superhero. Come on, give him that. Give him that. It's cool. But yeah, they're the Big Ten seedings, and obviously everybody's attention turns to Joe's ankle. And it looked like it wasn't a high ankle sprain. It bent the way you, and I hate to say this, but it bent the way you want it to bend. So I think that makes it a sprain. Then you don't know the severity. And then with a sprain, I believe there's probably an MRI coming and they see what, how the damage is and then go prescribe it from there. I think it's good. He was up on the end. I think it was good. He was smiling. But who knows? That could be the ibuprofen talking.
Right. And Tom Kakert and several other people tweeted out, and I'm not saying that this is apropos of anything. It's anecdotal, but everyone's looking for hope right now, that Wieskamp had an ankle injury a few years ago against Michigan State and then came back 5 days later to play against Iowa State. But every one of these things is a little bit different. So Iowa doesn't play again until Friday, when they play Wisconsin again. So at least they have 5 nights before they have to play. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've had a lot of situations where I could have rolled my ankle, but for some reason, I'm a Gumby down there at the ankle level. I don't ever get hurt. So I don't have a lot of experience with ankle injuries, but I can't imagine that every one of them is the same. So,
yeah. We'll see. We'll have to wait that out. I don't know when Fran talks next, but that'll be first question.
And if I'm Fran, I don't say anything. I don't say a word about it. I don't have to, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There's no impetus. I mean, you maybe give an update, and I think if the beat writers are around the team, which I don't think they are at all. I'm thinking back to the days when you used to kind of hang out in Carver and wait for the basketball players to come out and talk. Right. It's all via Zoom now. So yeah, they can put him in the attic for 13 days, I think I saw on Twitter.
Oh, till the tournament, till the big tournament.
13 days till the tournament. Why mess around? And just what he can do at this point. He's your guy, and you're clearly riding him. really do love how J-Bo closed it out his career here. I mean, it was ugly for a while for him.
Yeah.
He's 1 of 7. He did have 7 assists in the first half, so he was dealing today.
Right.
But oh boy, he the free throws at the end, 5 of 5. Iowa needed that. I mean, the free throws have sagged, but he was there for that, and ended up 4-12 shooting, not great, but put in 16 points, 8 assists, to only 3 turnovers, 6 rebounds for the guy.
Yeah,
way to show up. He Robbie Benson the hell out of this deal.
I've said this for, I don't know, Mark, how many years have I called you the king of the analogy? You're the champion. It's been I've been doing that for years. So
I've watched too much TV as a kid.
That's fine. Free throws you bring up, Bohannon hits all 5. Keegan hits his 2 after Davison makes his 2. Connor makes his 2. And then CJF makes the front end. I wasn't a 1-and-1, but he makes the first one to make it a 2-possession game there at the end. And then, I don't know if you noticed this, I'm a geek. On his spin, what he does before he shoots, he throws it out in front of him a little bit. It spins, backspins. On the bounce, he catches it and shoots. I noticed that his spin was too far out in front, and it caused him to send his hands out in front. I'm like, he's missing this. And he short-hopped it. Free throws terrify me. I was a better three-point shooter almost than I was a free throw shooter. And the way that these guys can go up in pressure-packed situations, I'm always amazed at how cool these guys are in situations like that. Mark, I want to share something right now before we start bringing all of you into it. We've got over 170 people in here right now. We really appreciate you being here. Welcome to the show. Going to be a lot of fun in the months and years ahead. But Mark, you met, and we have permission to do this. You met last week with one of our first sponsors that we want to welcome on board. Let's welcome on. I'm going to play the video here real quick. Let's welcome on Barntown Brewing.
Iowans know a thing or two about a hard day's work. That's why we do things the right way at Barntown Brewing. Grain-to-glass beers brewed in-house. Scratch-made food, handcrafted with fresh, locally sourced ingredients. We work hard for the reward of watching our guests enjoy great food and beer. Barntown Brewing. West Des Moines, Hawkeyes.
Not bad.
So I met Pete Pete Faber, owner proprietor, and we're going to do some content together. Brewing is, to me, content, and you push through the hard things. You have triumphs. You take criticism. You have. I'm also going to throw an idea to him: beer flavored beer. Put it on a can and tailgate. It's time for craft brewing to go after the big boys and their fizzy yellow. Make a better fizzy yellow and make it the tailgate beer. Pete, that's the challenge, man. Let's do that.
I'm sure he's going to. And Mark is a connoisseur, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And for me, I enjoy some NAs every now and then. But what I also really enjoy is a fantastic, good, frothy root beer, which Barntown makes that. So the next time Pete and I hook up, I'm going to get some of those root beer, and is that how you say it? I'm going to get some of those root beer, or I'm going to get some of those root beers. I don't know, but I'm going to get some, and I'm going to enjoy the heck out of it. And I went and read reviews. I take it so seriously. I went and read reviews on Barntown Brewing's root beers, and oh my gosh, everyone loves it. I can't wait. So we'll do that. Let's do one more. Welcome another sponsor onto the show. And this is a familiar name to those of you in the state of Iowa. Take a look.
Craving the one and only Fong's Pizza? We thought so. Fong's Pizza in Cedar Rapids now delivers. Order direct delivery or curbside pickup from Fong's Pizza by calling 320-9992. All of your Fong's favorites and a Fong's spin on the classics, from their mega pepperoni to the Iowan and street taco. Delivery, takeout, carside to go. Call 320-9992. Fong's Pizza, Newbo District, downtown Cedar Rapids.
I can't wait to try crab rangoon pizza. I love crab rangoon. Can't wait. Pizza, I got to tell my wife last night, I could eat pizza literally every single day for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner, and I'd never get tired of it. So I am pumped up that Fong's Pizza is on board.
The street pizza was a staple in our house. Everyone loved it. Thankfully, it was in Cedar Rapids. Fong's came to Cedar Rapids later in my stay. I had my pizza loyalties built up, and of course, they messed with that the street pizza. Family from my son, who's pretty picky, to my daughter, who's I think she's bordering on vegan now. My wife loved it, and I loved it. So that we won. We voted, and we won the vote, and the kids came along, and they loved it too. So very excited and very thankful to have them.
Absolutely, very thankful for them. Also, very thankful for Heartland flagpoles and flags. They're located in Des Moines, but you can find them everywhere on the World Wide Web. I've known these guys for a long time. Used to advertise on my show on 1460 KXNO in Des Moines. Right when they came on board, I ordered me a Royals flag, ordered me a Hawkeye flag to fly out in front of my house down here in Leawood, Kansas. So those are just 3 of the first, many more to mention as we go forward. Thanks to each and every one of our sponsors, and we hope you out there who watch and or listen to this and read us at HawkeyePodcast.com will also give our sponsors a chance. Now, let's give you a chance to come on board. I'm scrolling down to the newest first, so if you want to start throwing comments and questions out, maybe you did it earlier. There's so many over here. If you could just start going through it again, that way we can get to it.
One thing I'd like to throw out to the crowd is, to you, Ken Palm this. I mean, the defensive, what Iowa has held, I imagine, last 4 or 5 opponents, probably 50% at maybe less. Today Wisconsin was 47%. And I think it's becoming more and more of a story of the season for this team. However the conversation went down, to kind of use the zone as more of a sort of a change of pace rather than the thing. I want to know how that conversation went. I want to know if it was players going to coach or coach going to players. But anyway, whatever they did, however that math worked out, however that conversation went, it was the right move, and it's really paying off.
It was, and it's something that I said early on the season. I've said it in multiple seasons that Iowa is not a man-to-man defensive team, and that they just need to commit to the zone. They need to do it in the out of season and not try to do it in season and become a zone team. They need to make a commitment in the program to be a zone team, and you work on that year round so that you can actually be a good zone defensive team, because they were getting torched man-to-man in the first half of the season. And that's why they went playing more zone than man. And as you mentioned, they made the switch back to man. And I don't know how you make that switch and all of a sudden become a team whose Ken Palm defensive efficiency rating was down around 135th to now is at 61st. And over the course, for over a month now, the last month of the season, dating back to just after the first Ohio State game. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games for Iowa since February 5th. Iowa is a top 10 defensive efficiency team in the sport playing in this conference. I don't get how Fran motivated them or what tweaks that were made, because it's still the same guys. It's still the same guys with some of the same deficiencies. They aren't getting any quicker laterally. They aren't getting any more athletic, but they're playing really, really good defense. And Wisconsin is just the second team that Iowa's played in the last month to score over 70 points on them. But like you mentioned, held them to under 50. So to Ken Palm, Iowa did drop a couple of spots in defensive efficiency, but they're still at 61st. And if they keep playing defense like this, let's not worry about what their Ken Palm ranking is right now, because 2/3 of their Ken Palm ranking was played with the Ole defense that we saw the first 2/3 of the season. If we're going to weight it to the way they've been playing, this is a team that can do something, of course, if Joe Dub is healthy. That is a key.
Agree. And just stamp that on it because the defensive thing has been a big part of the turnaround. I like today, you lose Joe 12 points in 12 minutes. And then Garzilla, and I hate using guys' nicknames before their jerseys are retired. Wait, his jersey is retired, so we can call him Garzilla. He was smashing little model red dressed houses, and no one could guard him today. Potter, I thought, did a better job the first game. And Garza, he had 13 rebounds with about 11 minutes left. I thought he's headed toward a 20 rebound day. I think he ended up with 16 and the one to close it out. Just a nice blend of offense around him. And so they kept stretching Wisconsin out. They kept spacing it just enough. I mean, yeah, maybe you can't get away with that against Illinois, but you can torture Wisconsin with it. And I think everyone had fun doing that.
Yeah, they did. Indeed. A good time was had by all. Let's start with Adam J. Are the Hawks locked into a 2 seed regardless of what happens for them at the Big Ten tournament? Now, you're talking about the NCAA seeding. And I think that they are. I think that if Iowa loses to Wisconsin in the Big Ten tournament, I still think Iowa holds on to maybe the lowest seeded 2 seed, the 8th overall seed, because Iowa moved up ahead of Ohio State. Iowa is now, I think, the 6th overall seed and the 2nd highest rated 2 seed. So I still think that they would hold on. Now, if the word came out this week that Joe's done for the year, then who knows? They might readjust that prior to the tournament. But I think they're going to be a 2 seed. I think this win solidifies them as a 2 seed.
Though I think the one thing that maybe threatens that is how highly seeded the Big Ten is going to be. And I believe Purdue is really – I finally got to watch them the other night. They got both of their big men going, and they absolutely pinned Michigan State.
Right.
They are a top 4 seed. They're in the higher side of the bracket. I think if they follow seed, they might have an argument for a 2, but I think Iowa probably prevails. Ohio State is probably – it looks like they're getting out of Iowa's way for that. So I definitely agree with you. I think Iowa is solidly 2 right now. Win a few in the Big Ten. Follow your seed, and you'll be a 2.
Right. No, it's a great point. That's a great point. Follow your seed. I like that. If Iowa beats Wisconsin, they're a 2. It's a lock.
Agreed.
One thing I didn't mention earlier when I mentioned Heartland flagpoles and flags, their website where you can go order around the country is heartlandflags.com. That's HeartlandFlags.com. Heartlandflags.com. Check it out. Doesn't matter what pro team you're a fan of, they've got flags. They've also got flag poles because I've ordered one of those as well. Let's get back to the questions here. Go to Gold Shock Attack. Lots of talk about Illinois being locked into the 4th 1 seed. What if Iowa beats them and Wisconsin, obviously? Would that be enough to be considered for a 1, or do they have to beat Michigan as well? I don't have access to the entire sheet that the NCAA looks at. I primarily look at Ken Pomeroy, and then I can go look at some other things as well. But right now, Iowa's the 4th ranked team on Ken Pomeroy. Illinois is the 5th ranked team on Ken Pomeroy's stats. And if I go over and I look at the net rankings that the NCAA does use, the net rankings replaced the RPI years ago. Right now, Illinois is on the 4. They're ranked 4th in the net rankings. Iowa is 6th. Now, that was before Iowa's win against Wisconsin, but Iowa's win against Wisconsin is as impressive as what Illinois added to their resume yesterday, which was a win against Ohio State. But if Iowa would beat Illinois heads up, it's possible. Houston's right there at the 5 in between both of them. I think Houston won a big game today. So it's possible, yes. I am not.
Alabama could also win its way there too, I think.
Yes, I think you're right. Illinois' quad 1 record today it was 9-5. Iowa's is 6-5, and Wisconsin, a home win against Wisconsin is outside the top 25 quad 1 criteria because Wisconsin is down several rungs lower. I mean, yeah. Well, actually, Wisconsin was 25th, but they lost to Iowa, so they're probably going to drop down. So anyhow, it's possible. That's a long-winded way of saying it's possible, and I apologize for the
real quickly, John.
Yeah.
Scott Dochman, the athletic dude who I used to have a podcast with. We're working on bringing him in. We'll see how that goes. But he says in the press conference, Fran said he wouldn't rush Joe back. Walking boot, right lower leg, ankle after the injury. The good news for Iowa that it's likely just quote unquote a sprain.
Okay, well, that is good news. And you brought up a great number earlier, and I hadn't really thought of that. I was more focused on the Big Ten. The number's 13. 13, you said. It's Selection Sunday is a week from today. And the first possible day that Iowa could play in the tournament is a Thursday. So that's quite a bit of recovery time for Joe. Because, yes, you want to go beat Wisconsin. You want to do your best in the tournament. But having Joe available and as near 100% as possible for the NCAA tournament is the priority. Coming up next here is T-Nails 20. The biggest thing I see defensively is how Iowa is getting through screens, and the defender on the screener is doing a good job of splitting the difference, forcing fewer long helps. Very good observation. Earlier, they were getting caught on hedges. They were getting caught high on doubles. And it was hard to watch, honestly, earlier this season. And I'm not saying I'm some type of defensive guru. I probably sucked at defense myself back when I played, if I'm being honest. But at any rate, that is that. See, first tourney game is Friday the 19th this year. Opening round is Friday, Saturday. Thank you, Adam Horning, for that. I did not know. I've been so focused on the day-to-day, I didn't even know about the nuances that they changed with regards to the tournament. So that's fantastic. Very good news.
Oh, also, I'm gonna jump in here. Also, John, Jeff Petrikis, who covers the Badgers for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, great guy. You guys would love him. Very intense, lots of jokes, kind of like me.
That's why we'd love him.
He's saying Greg Gard is going off on officials. Says the hook hold is now the Brad Davison rule. Said he is sickened.
Well, okay.
He's going to get a $10,000 fine.
Yeah,
it sounds like.
Over
this game, and you could hear him cussing in the background. Frankly, not that that's a big deal, but it sounds like Brad Davidson's. Let me see. If you Cobra Kai your entire career in the Big Ten, that shit is going to follow you, my friend, and you got a deal. That's the coffin that you carved for yourself. So
no doubt, you're right.
You got to open the door yourself and figure that out. Too bad, Greg Gard.
Yeah,
you know what you're doing. I mean, you absolutely know what you're doing. Shut your mouth. I'll fine him. Fine. I want the 10,000 spotted cows out of that guy.
This review brought to you by Brad Davidson's prior activity in his career.
Exactly.
That's
totally
what it is. I saw some national heads talking during the game, and they're like, what are they reviewing now? And I replied back to them, like, any play that Brad Davidson's involved in is an auto review just to make sure he didn't grab somebody's junk like he's done multiple times in his career. So sorry, Mr. Gard. That is what it is. I'm going to get this figured out how you can pull some of these things up too going forward. That would be really good.
Yeah.
But we will get that worked out here. I'm scanning through. And if you see someone that you want to read, go ahead and bring it up. I'm going to pull Dave Laughlin up here now. Was good to see Iowa win a close one today. We've been great at blowout victories this year, but a little sketchy when games have gone down to the wire. It was down to the wire. And it was gutty time. And Wisconsin, I think, Mark, went on a 16-4 run in the second half at one point in time. And I was thinking, sure could use a Joe Dub right now on the floor because he's been really good this year, as has Luka, of stopping runs from opposing teams because he can drive and get to the foul line, do things like that. But Iowa, last year's team was one of the mentally toughest teams I've seen from an Iowa basketball team in 2 decades. This year's team, right in the same line.
I would say one of the big differences is Iowa's with the way it's built this year with Garza. It can play Wisconsin's game and it can be better at Wisconsin's game. It can play a half-court game. And today, when Joe went out, I felt like it got more deliberate. They wanted to run a little more clock. I'm going to give credit to J-Bo for kind of directing things a little bit. Yeah, I think just being able to play a different style and impose your will still, that makes this game okay. National talking heads will see it and they'll go, yeah, I was a 2 seed.
Yeah. This comes from Chris Bryant. I've seen Iowa-Wisconsin football games that were less physical than today.
No, you haven't. You haven't. But I get what you're saying.
How long was Garza stuck at 19? How do you have the player of the year and not get him the ball down the stretch? Sometimes I mean, Connor's really good at post feeding. It was frenetic out there. It was frenetic out there. But Mark, you have an analogy that you use for at least a decade, if not longer, relative to how you sum up Iowa and Wisconsin when they play football, what they're fighting over.
Yeah, a couple polar bears on a really small piece of ice trying to stay alive. Iowa and somebody on Twitter called me out on that. Usually it was with Iowa and Michigan State, Wisconsin, and I saved that for football. Iowa has swept, I think, Wisconsin and Michigan State in everything this year, and that's a hell of a good year for Iowa in any sport.
Yeah, you're right. That is, if you can sweep all them in everything, considering that you're probably going to Breslin, you're probably going to Cole, that's a pretty good deal. No doubt about it. Scrolling down here. This is another physical comment. Elijah Reinhardt. The Big Ten plays with some unreal physicality when we get to the NCAA tournament time. Which teams will most be able to adapt to refs that don't think this is a wrestling duel? Personally, I think Michigan, Iowa. So what you're saying is which teams will be able to adapt to the non-wrestling style of play? And I think that's a very astute observation, Elijah, in that the Big Ten, how they call games, how they've always done it since I was a pup, since Marc was a pup. Oh, the Big Ten brand of physical basketball. It sucks. It's not basketball. Basketball is freedom of movement. And if someone drives past you, you either move your feet to impede their motion and you get there before they get there and you're set and it's a charge, or you get there late and it's a foul, and if you touch them with your hands and grab them, it's a foul. But that's not how we call basketball anymore. It's a different game than how it was intended to be. So I don't like it. Again, I go off on this 10 times a year. But to your point, they have the ability when you get to the NCAA tournament and they don't allow that type of basketball, Iowa can benefit.
I think that's a great point by Elijah. He uses an important word here. I think adapt. I think this team, Iowa has shown it can, the one time Luka goes out and they keep him out with 2 fouls, that was bad. They haven't done that since. McCaffrey hasn't done that since. I think that Iowa is adaptable enough to change its game. I like how this team, a lot of Fran teams have not been able to stop the bleeding and get over the hump.
Right.
This team has really shown me the ability to stop the bleeding and get over the hump. You could go to countless games. I want to say Purdue was one of those games where things are going south, and all of a sudden, somebody, Iowa went Cobra Kai and made it work.
Yes.
So I think that great question and great. We won't know that until we see it.
Right.
But I think Iowa has shown that it can be something. It can change stripes every once in a while.
Right. Hey, I want to point this out to the 172 of you that are here for the live show, and those of you that are listening after the fact on the podcast. And you can find the podcast now on every single primary major podcasting stream. It's live now on Google Podcasts. It's live now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. Just go in and search Hawkeye space podcast space Morehouse, and it'll pull up, or Miller. There's less words, whatever you want to do. Plus, we have links. If you go to HawkeyePodcast.com in the upper left, it says listen/watch. We have the links for you there. And also go to HawkeyePodcast.com and search Kittle, Kittle. Those of you watching either live or on the video replay, is a autographed George Kittle San Francisco 49ers road jersey. It is authentic. It is signed by Mr. Kittle. We are giving this away for free. If you go to HawkeyePodcast.com, search in the search bar in the upper right, Kittle, you will see the very simple thing you have to do to get registered. Basically, it's sign up for our newsletter that we can stay in touch with you and like our YouTube page and retweet it. And you get more entries the more things you do that help us spread the word about HawkeyePodcast.com. No purchases necessary. You can win this from whatever nook and cranny of the United States that you're in, and it's all good and it's free.
I have a couple of George stories real quick. George, yes. It was the game in 2015 when they clinched the West title against Purdue. He found an open seam. He said, I just jumped out of the plane. And then he had a block to I think the same season, or maybe it was the year before. Akram scored a long touchdown up at Minnesota. Iowa won 14-7. George pushed his defensive end into Canada. And I said, George, you shopping carted that guy. And George looked at me and goes, you got to help me out with that one. And we talked about shopping cart, and he was like, yeah, that was kind of a shopping cart deal. So what a free spirit. What an amazing kid. I hope you guys, enjoy it. And I would put that one under glass.
Yeah, I would too. When I bought it to do this, I'm like, the more I've looked at it, I'm like, do I really want to give this away? Not really, but you know what? We could always get another one.
People see George and see his in the professional wrestling and all that stuff. He is that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love people that are what they represent. This is a good comment by Chris Bryant. That felt like tournament basketball. Great tune-up for the Hawks. I agree. That did, Mark. That felt like tournament basketball. It felt a little tedious and exhausting even, but it smells like March. That game smelled like March.
It feels like Iowa's kind of put on a business hat since the defense has come on. To me, it does feel tournament-like. That's a great observation, and I think the last few games have. John, we got a couple of people asking, about Luka's 55 being retired and why hasn't Roy Marbles? What is that, Roy? They retired his jersey, but not his number.
Right. I think that they did that, and I think that it comes down to the simple fact that not long after Roy was gone from Iowa, Roy had some issues, and these are well documented issues with drugs.
Yeah.
And I really think that that's what it is. Roy held the scoring record longer than anyone's ever held the scoring record, with the exception, I didn't go back and check the Peach Baskets era. From the 1950s at a minimum to now, Roy held that record from 1989 to 2021. That's almost 32 years that he held that record. Ronnie Lester held it from 1980 until Greg Stokes beat it in 1985. Ronnie, the guy that Ronnie beat, that was like 9 years. So Marble had it. That's my only explanation possible.
I think that there's a super long form story in Roy Marble still. I think that there people our age, you think of, growing up watching Iowa basketball, I'll bet there's late 40s, 50-something dudes out there who have different sort of visions and different sort of ideas of what Roy represented. To me, Roy was like the super cool cat who answered the bell so many times. Had a bar in Cedar Rapids, fun place. I enjoyed it. I met him a few times. He was a really super engaging guy. I know that he went through a rough patch in his life. I hate that, stuff does get held against you, and for whatever reason, hopefully, I would say that's not really a fault of the current administration. I think Roy should have been addressed a long time ago. I mean,
Bob should have addressed that.
Yeah, that should have, they should have really coalesced on that and moved much earlier than Barta with a jersey from, like 15 years after Roy left.
Right.
Which I'm not blaming Barta. I'm not being hard on Barta. The jersey was a bad choice, but just a situation that he sort of inherited there.
Right. And the jersey that they gave him was like a modern day jersey and not
anyway. 2006 or something.
It's like they ran back and just grabbed one out of the storehouse. But yeah, and I think Roy had some other things that happened also decade and a half after his playing days. So that's why I think that it was.
First family of Iowa basketball, one of the first families of Iowa basketball.
Roy Marble, when Iowa, I think it was going into 88, 89, Iowa was ranked number 1 in the nation by Sport Magazine, at least Sport, and maybe even College Basketball Times.
All right.
Remember that? College Basketball Times, which I used to refer to as the Basketball Bible. I subscribed to the Basketball Times from the 1980s until about 1999. I mean, I loved it. It was before the internet and you could get recruiting news. Iowa was high on their charts that year. And in the actual Sports Illustrated issue that year, they had Roy Marble, 3 pictures of him. The first picture was Roy in a mummified. The second picture was Roy starting to break out of the mummy material. The third picture was him really breaking out of it. They called him Baby Jordan, Baby Michael Jordan. Roy Marble was that type of player. Roy Marble, Harold Miner, Len Bias, that type of athletic guard, forward-ish almost, that was emerging at that time, that Michael Jordan, I want to say made popular, because you can't make a playing style popular, but maybe you can. That's how highly Marble was thought of around the country. And a lot of these basketball analysts that you hear doing Iowa games when they bring up Roy Marble that are in their 40s to their 60s, the reverence that they give to Roy is genuine, because Roy Marble was a dude. He was a freaking dude back then.
On a team full of dudes.
Yes. Yeah. He was Lebowski. You got Donnie over. I mean, he was the dude. And that team full of dudes you mentioned, 7 or 8 players in that 86, 87 Iowa team at least had a cup of coffee in the NBA. It's the best. It's one of the best teams in college basketball history that didn't win a national championship. And I'm not being biased on that. You can go ask others and look it up.
Totally agree.
Yep. So we talked about that. Any folks, if you have any other comments or questions or things that you want to bring Mark and I to bring up, please submit them now. This is terrifying. Michael Morrell says, that Brad Davison is coming back for another year. Are you speaking of this based on knowledge? Perish the thought. Or are you just trying to get my goat? Because I don't ever want to see him play Iowa again after they play next week. But he does. It's you never know. I mean,
I would say this on that. What the hell else is he going to do? I mean, he's going to be somebody's best. He's going to be a ringer in some accounting firm's team,
like a good neighbor,
or he's going to be in Iceland, hurling threes. I would go back to Wisconsin. Why not? Yeah. Today, though, I would say this. Davidson showed a lot of camaraderie. I mean, he and
sportsmanship,
helping him out up there. I enjoyed that. Obviously, I believe if Iowa had a player with that DNA, you guys would love the hell out of him. So that's how the course. I do like when the other team has a guy who's so hateable, because then you can kind of dump on him.
Yeah, you're right. To me, if the hook and hold stuff. Some of that stuff's savvy. It's just savvy.
It is. You want your guy taking every advantage.
Yes.
Oh, Dan, no, we're not going to go there. You want your guy taking, exactly, like Robin put up, like Zach McCabe was.
Yes, correct. But the thing that I don't want to see is any arms swinging or clutching near anyone's genitalia. Not interested in that.
No.
But everything else, it's savvy. It's savvy, and Robin Schuster brings up a la Zach McCabe. You're right. There's a couple here that I really that just popped up. This one from Dalton Cody, and thanks for asking this, Dalton. Again, I think I saw it earlier. Is next year going to be the most athletic team that Fran has had? Too early to tell yet. We'll see what Wieskamp does. But when you're talking about Perkins and Ulis and Toussaint and Keegan, and the type of defense that they can play, and CJ Frederick is more athletic than he gets credit for. And Patrick, the slithering one, and Jack Nunge, I think he has to come back. That team is a better defensive team than this year's team. It's probably not as good as an offensive team, but it's a better defensive team. And I think next year's, if Joe Wieskamp comes back next year, that is a that is a top 4 seed in the not like overall seed, but a 4 seed to me, almost at worst in the NCAA tournament. That's a heck of a team. That's a top 25 team that's flirting with the top 10 and top 15 all year. Without Joe, their ceiling's probably not that high, but they're probably a 5 to a 7 seed next year, in my opinion.
I'm not going to shut the door on any player acquisition. I do think that there would be a lot of transfers at the end of the year. I think pandemic has probably shown guys that maybe they don't belong, or they've had a lot of introspection moments, or I think there'll be a turnover. And I do think Iowa should have have its hand out and grab somebody who's going to eat floor and eat minutes. A Garza who maybe you're not feeding as much, but a Garza who can come in and D up.
I've got a name for you, and let's just go ahead and kick the hornet's nest over. Iowa State just went winless in Big 12 play for the second time in school history and the first time since the Great Depression.
Yeah, go there for sure.
I'm going. And Steve Prohm, their coach Prohm, I think it's Steve. Is it Steve Prohm?
Yes.
Okay. By everything I've heard, is a great human, great guy, awesome guy, but he just went winless. And the last 3 or 4 years, their Big 12 record has not been that great. And if he gets fired, Xavier Foster was down to Iowa and Iowa State, and his family's from right there in central Illinois. And he may love Ames, and Ames is a great campus. And I've said this before, that if I still lived in Des Moines, I'd probably want my daughters to go there to Ames because it's only 40 minutes from where I used to live. So it's a great campus. This is not a slight on Iowa State. This isn't the old John Miller just being a DB to fire up, no Iowa State fans watching this.
You're Marty Torelli.
No, I'm not. I used to, but I'm not anymore. I mean this. I thought about it this morning. I even went and looked at Foster's stats and realized, he's been out since January with a foot injury. I don't know. I'm not saying it's possible. I'm not saying I've heard anything, but that's a name that comes to mind. So I
think it's Iowa's turn. Iowa got Haluska. I think then Iowa State got Alex Thompson, right?
Yes.
So it's Iowa's turn.
Okay.
And I actually was just thinking the other day, how in the hell? I don't remember any football transfer. If anybody's out there,
Aaron, was Greving?
Yeah, I guess he was. Yeah, but I don't know if I don't think he did anything at Iowa State, if anything.
Yeah.
But there, I can't think of any football, but I guess it's Iowa's turn. So yeah. A guy like that is exactly what I was thinking about, though, John.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. We're on the same wavelength. Here's a thought I haven't even considered.
Fabian Dodd. Thank you. There's a good one. Fabian Dodd. Okay. Very good.
From BMF 395, Penn State could beat Wisconsin next week. Who would I rather play? I don't know. That's a really good.
That is a good question. You're going to get the same net game. You're going to get a knuckle game, and that can be a tough matchup.
And Penn State is superior on the perimeter defensively because of their more athletic guard. So I don't know. I'd have to chew. I'd have to chew on that one. Robin Schuster asks, "Where does Jabo go next year overseas?" Yeah, I don't ever want to limit that kid because I started out his career limiting him, saying he wasn't worthy of a Big Ten. He's not a Big Ten guard. Oh, gosh, I'll never stop self-flagellating myself over that one. I don't know that I used that term correctly. Strike that.
No, you're good. I think, don't put a cap on things. I'm more interested to see. I know if he hits shots, he's a good shooter. That'd be good. He might have a shot to, make some roster somewhere. But I'm more interested to see what he does in media. I think he's on a Jay Billis track.
Yeah.
Go out and have some experience playing basketball. I always say Iceland, but anywhere. Go play wherever in Europe. And that's a life experience that you bring into your content. And I think Jabo, I think Jordan's post basketball life is going to be, we're going to be hearing from him a lot. I think he's kind of got like what Dave Grohl, I saw him on a talk show talking about his young daughter. It's like, yeah, she has what you need to be a rock star. I think Jordan Bohannon kind of has what you need to be a sort of a media star.
To be a broadcaster. That's very good. Yes, Dan McCall, Bohannon, and Garza could technically come back, but I don't think that's going
what
to
number
happen.
would Garza wear now?
That's right. He's out of numbers. There's a couple more here that I want to get. Adam Horning said, how does Iowa think about substitution strategies to get Garza rest going forward? Can he keep playing 37 minutes? This is it. This is all hands on deck. And there are no lifeboats on the Titanic right now. You're on it, you're singing, and you're riding it out until the bow goes down below the water. Garza's a 35-minute per game guy, unless you see something differently.
I think what John said is a big part of it, and you're right. I mean, just you're riding your guy. And one thing, what do we see from last year when they canceled the tournament? What do we see on Frank Garza's Twitter every day? We saw Luka working out.
Yes,
he is a workout fiend. I think he has. If somebody pressures him on the left, he has 4 moves he's going to in the right. I think if somebody pressures him on the other side, he's got 4 moves or 4 ideas. He's a master at time and space and knowing he's just got the steps. So I think he's got a work ethic. And I think, you talk about guys with NBA, I don't cross him out. I mean, he is a big, strong guy. And that's also, in my mind, a huge, huge NBA factor. I mean, yeah, I had a friend who was pals with Mike Humple, got drafted by the Steelers. Mike said, and I think he was cut I think he lasted maybe a year. I'm not 100% sure, but he told my friend, yeah, these are the fastest guys in the world. And there will be that for Luka, but I think also in the clench, he might have some value.
Yeah, indeed. Last one here. What if Richard Pitino is not at Minnesota? Does Liam Robbins have eligibility? Everybody has eligibility. This is the COVID year. Everybody has that extra year of eligibility. And would I take Liam Robbins at Iowa next year? Oh, yes. There's no doubt. That's a good-looking ball player from Drake to Minnesota. But I don't know. At some point in time, Mark, you kind of want to go live your life. I heard Quanzo Martin, Missouri's coach this week, talking about this topic. He's got some really good players that could come back, and they said they've talked about it. And he said, hey, we're going to have a conversation. If you're just wanting to come back to hang out on a college campus for another year, then you need to go live your life. I thought it was a really interesting take. I'm not saying I agree with it. To me, it's like if they want to come back to college campus again for another year like Brad Davison, man, you only get so many laps around that track before you got to grow up and then spend the rest of your life wishing you were back on that college campus again.
Yeah, and I think a guy like Liam Robbins, maybe he's still hungry, and he's also a big man who you're constantly, in college, you want to give yourself as many chances as you can to audition for the pros. You never know, and maybe there's something more there. One thing I think from this game today, I think you're going to hear a lot from the Wisconsin side. I'm seeing a tweet now. Greg Gard is really going off, and he said, "Bill me basically for the $10,000." He's taking the call. I'll be happy to take the call from the league. They know my number. This is I think a lot happened in this game, John. That just toward the end there with Gard. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see how it goes in the tournament. But I do think he's right. He thinks Wisconsin will get officiated differently now because he's fighting for Brad Davison. Hell yes, you will, and it should. And tough shit.
Yeah.
Really?
That's exactly what's happening. Is he knows he is potentially playing Iowa in 5 days. Yeah. So he's just like, yeah,
he's laying the groundwork. That's a great point.
He's laying the groundwork, and we are going to leave the grounds right now. We are going to clear the path because your Iowa Hawkeye wrestling team is very close to clinching a Big Ten championship, and the finals are coming up. So go root on Spencer Lee and Alex Marinelli.
Yeah, we don't want to keep anybody from Spencer Lee.
No, because there might not be much time to watch.
Get your asses to the TV because that's going to be boom.
Yeah.
You cough, you're going to miss it.
He's going up against Purdue's 125-pounder that I don't know that guy's name, but I saw that Purdue 125-pounder running off the mat, really excited yesterday that he won. And I'm like, dude, what are you excited about? You got to go against Spencer Lee tomorrow. I don't know who won that one. So at any rate, thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you to our sponsors, Barntown Brewing, Fong's Pizza, Heartland Flagpoles and Flags at heartlandflags.com, and more to come. Thanks for being here. Mark and I, we will talk